So I'll go a little farther on this etymology 101. And I explained in a much earlier video why I go about teaching the way I do, the way I speak the way I do. And it has to do with linear processing of the brain versus abstract processing of the brain, and the way that a seed unfolds. And this is simply this. You're taught to read from A to Z. You're taught the letters that way. You're taught to read from left to right. You're taught from 1 to 9. You're taught to go from here to there in a linear process. Nothing in the world works that way. But yet your mind functions that way. It's not always, but that's the suggestion through all of the architects of society. That here's how we get to there. We go through this process. And so this even has to do with the moon. I'll go a little farther into this as well and explain to you the dilemma with writing from left to right and making words and sentences. And this is why other languages have symbols that they mean a lot. The symbol is just the same thing like a tree. If a symbol means the same thing as a tree, I say a tree, you say a tree, and we've defined it. We've said that's that right there. And we put a tree in a sentence. And that sentence is always me speaking to the moon. I'm the sun, just like you are, speaking to the moon, to the end of the sentence, over there, from the sun to the moon. But it doesn't work that way. It doesn't really work that way. Okay, so that process is not an unfoldment, it's a directive or a direction. So when I speak and I teach in the fashion that I do, it's this is why I've said before, I don't prefer to teach people from A to B to C or 1 to 2 to 3, because that's just going to reinforce a mind frame and a practice that isn't beneficial to the human, to the God, to the being, to your life. It's not beneficial to how to coordinate. Like, think about this: if you want to meet people, you can't go through talking to everyone the same way. I mean, you're taught to do that. Oh, here's how you be professional. Here's how you make friends. Here's what you have to do. Here's what you have to do this. Well, that's just not true. That's not true at all. You would never walk up to every animal the same way. You would never do that. And in the real world, you have to approach everything completely as if it's a brand new situation. And it's a completely empty situation, and you do with it as you figure out. There's no linear process to it. So the same way when I was just teaching in the last part about the idea of what a C is and what a T is, I'm going to go further on what a T is here and go into a couple other things. So that way, as you're learning this, as you listen to my videos, at some point you just go, oh man, you just figured out, because I said what a C is and what a T is, that you figured out on your own how a D works, or what an F might mean. As you start to understand, F is a flagpole, and it's like, oh, how do we see what a flag is? It has something to do with lagging, and it stands. See that you'll start to figure out, and then at some point you'll go, oh man, you just figured out the entire alphabet without me going through the entire alphabet. And even if I have to go through the whole alphabet, which I will, you'll figure it out in the way that, here's a little piece, here's a little piece. It's like puzzle pieces that you put together. It becomes your mind is more engaged in a proper way. That you're not like if I say I'm going to teach you from 1 to 9, your expectation is after 2 comes 3. So therefore you get bored with it. Not only do you get bored with it, but because you have an expectation, if 3 doesn't come next, it's confusing. It's really. But if I just leave you go, no, just here, look at it, it's an adventure and watch this, and you'll learn it all on your own, and it'll be a fun little journey. I can now teach you the way that the mind works. And in fact, I'm not teaching you, I'm unlocking your brain from saying, here's the process. And your brain becomes more expansive, because now your brain has to open up. You have to allow your brain. It's like a parachute. It doesn't work unless it's open. It will allow your brain to open up to accept all of the things that I'm saying, and all of the bits of information is right now. Whatever you're doing, maybe you're looking at the screen and you're noticing a couple of symbols. Maybe you're looking off into the distance. Maybe you're smelling something right now. So once you learn to, as you're listening to me, and maybe there's some music in the background, that you can hear the music while my voice is slowing down, and you're smelling the thing, and you're feeling the chair that you're sitting on. Now, all of these things become part of the infinite awareness of the process of participating in nature and learning. And so I attempt to make things abstract so that because I even put it this way, there is a linearity, there is a degree of linearity of what I'm teaching. There is a process. Anybody that listens to me speak, well, it might get a little bit like, well, okay, don't worry, I'm going to jump back over there. And at the end of it, it will all make sense. So here's the letter T. And let's talk about crossing. So if you make a tea, if you go in the kitchen and you boil some water and you put some tea in there, you put some leaves, you make a tea. What have you crossed? You've crossed water. It's called steeping. You've crossed water with the earth element. So you've steeped something. You've made a tea. And before, I was explaining in the last video about what a tea is and what a cross is. A cross is a crossing of spirit, meaning air, into the body. So now you have air into earth. So you're crossing something. The tea is a cross. You call a tea a cross. So even in the concept of what making a tea is, you're steeping something, a steep, you'd call it a steep slope. Steeping something, that steep angle. So here's just a little way of playing with words. Just words are a lot more moldable and malleable than you think they are. And in fact, they're very extremely. I mean, look at Shakespeare. He created how many different new words? How many new words came out of what he was doing? Because he knew the architecture of each individual letter and knew you could just put them together in a different way and make new words. I mean, people call it ebonics or the tongue of the hood, Cats in the hood speak different. They make up their own language. Why can't they? Of course they can. This means this. And we come to an agreement. We agree that this means this, and this is how we're going to identify with this kind of concept. And that's how language was built in the beginning. I mean, it was built, originally on a few different concepts of fire and water and creating shadows and reflections within things, within. Well, we're not going to go that far, but let's get back to this T here. Okay, so the concept of a T. Look at it. It's crossing something. Now, the original T wouldn't be longer on the bottom. Okay, if you flip that over, what you'd get is what they'd call a satanic T, a satanic cross, because it's larger on the top. It's just showing you where the balance point is, and there's no balance in either one of those. If you make an actual cross where you lower you lower the bar to the middle and you have equal balance everywhere, that would be like looking through a scope, and you'd have perfect left to right, up and down vision. That's what a actual cross should look like. But of course you can see the concept of what a T is. Now if that T falls over onto its side, it's gonna make an X. And what is an X-ray? What is an X? X marks something. An X and a T are the same exact thing. It is just fallen on its side. It identifies and signals and is a symbol of the same thing changed by 45 degrees. Now, that's a little... Okay, that's mathematic. What are you talking about? It's showing you. The symbol's showing you something. What do you see when an X-ray? What does an X-ray do? It crosses through the skin into the inside of the body. You're literally crossing a border or a barrier to see something inside of something. So this is why a pirate, they put an X where the treasure is. They're using a symbol to say, hey, there's something here beneath the ground. X marks the spot on a map. If you have a map, it's a two-dimensional surface. And they put an X on there. And so it signifies somewhere in a three-dimensional landscape where something is in a different density. So here they are, pirates. It's all about the pi, P-I. You have phi and pi. And they always have a patch on their eye, meaning they have one eye. Because they have vision, not just sight, but vision. It's symbolic. And the reason they put that patch on the eye is twofold. One, so when they go under deck, that when it's dark, they can take that patch off and they can still see. And it's also symbolic to the third eye and being able to see things that other people can't. And therefore, you can use this idea of what an X is on a map and what an X-ray is. An X-ray sees into the body underneath the skin, underneath that barrier, the same way an X would for a pirate of finding treasure. It's the same thing. Same thing as a T. But a T, see, an X is lies down flat and it's just showing where something is. A T is always like, you jam it in the ground, and that's where the body goes. And someone's buried, and the spirit comes out of it. So the spirit that was crossed there is now crossed to somewhere else. So that's the X, the T, making T's. Okay, you could even look at a T like golfing tee. It's holding up something. Yeah, it's holding up a ball. A ball has to do with bowel, like the bowels, the inferno. It's this. The ball is the symbol of the sun, in fact. So you put the sun symbol on a cross. that is the story 1,000 times over and over and over again. Who's the Son of Man? Jesus Christ. Who's the Son of God? That thing right there. The sun symbol, the sun, the beaming thing in the sky. It's a ball of fire. Jesus is the son of that fire god. This is the thing. That ball is the going on the cross. Jesus was put on a cross. That's the symbology. That ball right there in golf that you're about to hit off of a tee, which off of a cross is the ball. So that entire game, and I'll do a whole series on games for you guys. Bowling balls and gutters and guts and pins and pens, and there's bowling for you. That's a whole. How far is it away with 10 pins? That's a fun one. Golf. How many holes are there? Sorry about that. Let me get some tea that I just made here. Just crossed a few elements with some water. So how many holes are there in golf? There's 18, but there's 9 for each half. You'd call it the front 9 and the back 9. Well, you could call it patina inverted, or you could call it the reflection. So for half of the game, you have 9 holes. How many holes do you have in your body? You have 9. You have 7 that are not 7 that are not hidden. 7 that are obvious. You have your eye holes, your nose holes, your ear holes, and your mouth hole. There's 7. And you have the 2 hidden ones that are below the bowels. That's below the belt. You've hit him below the belt. Bowels. Ball meaning below the earth is where the fiery Satan, bowel, devil, fire lives. That's the story. And there's 2 holes there. Your butthole and your pee hole. Where soil comes out and where gold comes out. How do you find gold? You mine for it. You dig into the earth, and then you take that, and this gets into the 49ers. What do? They went and mined gold, and then they put it into water, and they sifted it out, and they found inside of the water, they find gold. What does your body do? It produces soil out the back, and because that's what they were doing. They were taking away the soil from the water and finding gold in the water and putting the soil to the side. They find gold in the water. What is your body doing? It's producing soil out the back and golden water out the front. Back to why your urine is the highest form of medicine. It is literally... It is producing the monoatomic element of your soul and spirit. It's Orion's belt. It's urine. Orin is Orion. And this is all that has to do with the Milky Way and Orion's belt, because we are in the land of milk and honey. Milk is Martin Luther King. Milk is Moloch. Milk is white, creamy substances of breast milk, of semen, of these fluidiums that are in your body that are white. That is the milk. And the honey is pineal gland. Honey is urine. Honey is gold. It's a golden honey. So as this story of somehow I turned it from golfing and showing you what the golf game is and getting into mining gold and what gold is in your body and the water that runs through you to get the gold out of you. The monoatomic element, because what the kidneys did is they literally inverted and there was so much pressure inside of the little capillaries within your kidneys that it took all of the liquid in your body and turned it inside out and gave a reflection of it seeded your information. It was like Saturn the seeder seeding plants. I'll do cedar in 1 second, and we'll get into Saturn and make this a little bit longer. But what happens is your kidneys turn the information. The poison becomes the panacea. It turns the information as a reflective mirror inside out. This is why people know you can go, if you get an infection on your toe, you can urinate on it, because now that infection that's in your blood and your body it become the panacea or the solution in your urine, and you can pee on your toes. You can, if you get bit by a snake or a bee stings you, you take your urine because it's went through you, and now it's given you the antidote for whatever was the poison. And you can put it under your tongue or you can swallow it. So anything in your body that is poison, your body already has the solution for it. And it comes out as gold, as medicine, in front of you, into the palms of your hands. This is why the world, right there, if you consume the golden water in front of you. Okay, so what does this have to do with seeding and Saturn? I hope that story made sense. I'm pretty sure it did. I think that was a good enough visualization to understand T's and what your body is literally making a T of monoatomic element, single source element of solution. The Saturn, the letter is S and T, Sat. This is where you get Saturn Day and Saturday, and you would see a T and a D again are the same letter because of the sounds. Yeah. So a seeder, this is why Saturn is a seeder. Saturn seeded things. If you put a seed in the ground, it is seeded, right? It's set there. So what did you do? You set something there? So if you take a seat or you sit down, you have seeded something. Sitting down in a chair is the same thing as seeding. Sitting has to do with Saturn, putting something underground into darkness so it becomes a flower because it was seeded there. So Sat or Saturnian. So the last video talking about running. Saturn. So an urn is where you put ashes, and you can turn urn into RUN, which is run, which is RN, which we could even play with registered nurse and all that. But the R, Saturn, is a movement of the seeding process. And the S is a snake, meaning a vortex of energy. And you can notice this in ISIS, which is on the dollar bill, which means currency or ISIS or money, or two snakes around a pole. It's energy, so the S is about energy. Anything with S, as you're saying, it's the sound of snakes and something that's boiling. It's steaming. So that energy of Saturn is energy that's crossing something. Sat. So it's energy inside of the T, inside of a cross. So now you've kind of got a little more clue. S is an easy one to figure out. S is very obvious. S is a very powerful, it's an extremely sensitive word, and it has you can see it. It's right there. It's in the sound. And I'll be playing with the S all day like that. Okay, so Saturn seeds something. And so that's why the seed is called a seed, because it's a containment vessel for energy of life. And a seed is also called the nut. And the newt, N-U-I-T, or the nut, is, well, what happens when a man ejaculates? It's called, it's a nut. Get your nut off. Why are squirrels always trying to find a nut? Nut means crazy. It means a lot of energy. Crazy people have a lot of energy. See, are you seeing how this all kind of flows and works together? Because the words mean more than you think, and they have a lot of value to them. That's crazy little nut, and nut comes from the word nux, because a T and an X, remember, are both crosses, so a nut is a nux. And this is where you get the word crutch or crux, but especially you get the word lux. Lux means luxurious or light. So out of a nut, a nut, you get lux. You get light out of, because that's what's contained inside of the nut is light. Nuts and lux. And what is your luck? See? Do you see the lux is light? Do you have luck when you go somewhere? It's the golden horseshoe. The gold is luck. What is your luck? Are you lucky? We could get into the four-leaf clover and the Irish and that little fun little stories to tell about each one of these single little letters. So the lux is lucky, is light. And so if you get lucky sevens, ding, 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 and you get the gold, you get all the gold that comes out of the machine. So you see the nut holds the light. So inside of that story, we can find, I think now over these past two, you can kind of visualize and understand the qualities of what the letter T is, what it kind of means, what an X is. So you got the T, the X, the D, and the T. Got the S there. Kind of broke the B down a little bit for you. You got a closer idea of C and why the letter C is actually SEA as well, and so there's a little bit there for you. I think I'll end this one here, and I have a couple other letters I want to do. Maybe I'll just burn through all these for everybody today, and you can get we'll see. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. Stop here and I'll listen to this again and find my thought frame, because I had one more thing to say. It's about Saturn seeding. I think I'll get back to you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Do cool things. Have fun learning the alphabet. Remember, the palm of your hands and palmistry are very important. Look at them, see what they say, and learn how to speak. And in the meantime, be nice to people. And if you can't do that, at least be nice to yourself.